to The Final Take with MK Mariner every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines.
Hello and warm welcome to yet another edition of The Final Take with me, Seni MK Mariner, live from our virtual studios here in Seattle, Washington State, United States. Today, my special guest is no other person than Honorable Sekou Sao, the flag bearer of PPP political party. Sekou will be joined by his deputy and running mate, I will call it, Nene Cheyasin Seka. We'll be talking about coalition building ahead of December poll, the role of youth and women in political governance. Sekou recently has been, engaging actively in building coalition strategies aimed at unseating the incumbent president Adama Barrow. During this 1 hour discussion, we'll be talking about a wide range of issues happening in the country, politically, socially, economically. We'll unpack all those discussions today. Sekou Sao, welcome back to The Final Take once again.
With me, it's a pleasure to be back on your platform. It's always a fruitful discussion. So thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Sekou. I know Nene will also be joining us shortly, to make this conversation interesting and enriching within this 1 hour. So meanwhile, for those tuning in, this is The Final Take with me, Seni Marina. We'll go straight into the program. Sekou Sao, as the PPP flag bearer, what is your personal vision for coalition building ahead of December polls? And what specific alliance or partnership do you believe are essential for a stable and inclusive government in the Gambia?
My vision in terms of coalition is to see how we can galvanize, different parties and movements. It's a lot of parties and movements in the Gambia. We all know that. However, we also have to be realistic when it comes to how we can actually win, because you can have the numbers and still lose, right? So winning is also about strategy. And I'm a numbers guy, and I've looked at the historical data. I've been able to assess the strength of different political parties, the likes of UDP, GDC, based on their previous performance. And then I'm currently a PPP member. I'm the president and flag bearer of PPP. However, when it comes to Gambia at large, we have to put the interest of the nation first, not the party, not no individual. When it comes to Gambia, Gambia comes first. So that's why I'm all in for, a party-led coalition, not just a party-led coalition, but specifically UDP, because UDP, they do have the electoral strength. And I believe if we all come together and unify under that umbrella, we stand a greater chance of actually unseating the incumbent.
Mr. Sao, you talk about a party-led coalition. This has generated a lot of controversy in the country because many people feel that a party-led coalition is always having an issues, especially when they win elections, looking at what happened during the 2016 presidential election that bring incumbent President Adama Barrow to power. Why do you believe in party-led coalition than a coalition where people will go into primaries and select the winner in a Congress setup?
So the reason why I'm supporting party-led is two reasons. The first one is accountability, right? Because the previous, I believe in 2016, it was more of a candidate-led, and President Adama Barrow was selected. But this time, party-led means, hey, if UDP is the front runner and it's a UDP-led coalition, for instance, right? Then they take accountability. If everything goes well, obviously they'll take the credit. And if it becomes a colossal failure, right? They should also, be bold enough, to be held accountable. So accountability is what we want to ensure this time, right? So that's why I'm in favor of the party led. And another reason why I'm also supporting, a party led is we also have to define, the political reality on the ground, right? There's so many parties, but do they have the same strength as UDP? Those are some of the big questions we need to ask. Have they been tested before, right? Those are some of the questions we need to ask. Because this is 2026. We don't want to take chances. It's like, okay, we're gonna come out here, create a third or fourth force, and then we all end up losing because we fragmented before. So we don't want to take those chances. I feel like we played safe. Let's support the UDP led. We've seen their numbers historically. We've seen their performance until today. They're still one of the strongest, largest opposition parties. So we need to play it safe. We need to secure those loyal base that UDP has. And then if other parties like us, even if we can bring 20, 30, 40,000 votes, and then other movements can do the same, we stand a better chance to unseat President Barrow. It's just we don't want to take those silly chances this time around. We want to make sure we have that strong conviction, like, yes, we support UDP, it's a party led, and UDP will take full accountability, to make sure, this is successful this time around.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sao, for that. We will join in welcoming your vice presidential candidate. I call Her Excellency Nene Jayasin Kebe. Nene, welcome to the final take with us, with me, Seni MK Marina.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Okay, amazing. Nene, the next question goes to you. As a vice presidential candidate, how do you see the role of women leaders in shaping and strengthening this coalition? What unique perspective do you bring from your experience to this process? Because many people will say Nene is a novice in politics, as they claim President Barrow was a novice in 2016. So what experience will you bring on the table, looking at your role as a very prominent woman who a lot of young people see as a mentor?
As a woman, I can relate to most women. I've had to build the life that I want for me and my family. I've had to raise children of my own. I've built a successful business in the United States since 2007. I come with knowledge, both educationally and both hands-on. You can be a leader and not have a proven track record. You can be a leader and not have built wealth on your own. President Barrow's wealth has been built on the back of the Gambian people. I come in from a business perspective, from being a woman and from also being a self-sufficient woman. As you know, as Black people living in America, it's not easy. To open a business that has been successful for the last 20 years and I've been able to retire by age 50, I stand on that experience. If I was able to build that for myself and my family, I think I have enough experience and I bring enough to the table to be able to build that for the average Gambian woman. I cannot hear you. Can you hear me?
Seni, we cannot hear you. I can hear Nene, but we can't hear you.
Okay, I can hear Sheku, but I can't hear Segu. No, we can't hear you, sir.
Seni, I think you're mute.
Are you on mute?
Okay, we can hear you now.
We can hear you now.
Okay.
No, not anymore.
Now.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. And then, as a woman, we understand that the political trend in Gambia is very hard for women.
You've gone again.
Yeah, your audio, we can't, you're not audible. It's gone.
Okay, just a minute. Let me sort that out. But I can definitely hear you guys though.
We
Yeah,
hear you now, but you keep going in and out.
yeah, we can't hear you.
Okay,
It's,
can you guys hear me now?
yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. I think my one of my mic was off. Nene, my question was, as a woman, and we understand that the political terrain in Gambia is not very favorable for women political candidates. Are you prepared for this challenge?
I think the last 13 months has proven that I'm prepared. The amount of backlash I have gotten as a woman candidate, or as a vocal woman, or as a woman that has opinions, we could go on for days. I've been able to survive that. I'll be able to survive the next 5 months. As you know, we have 20% Black people in America out of the 250 million people. If I'm able to survive the United States and build the life I have built, Gambia is chump change for me.
Oh,
I'm a Black woman who survived racism, sexism, bigotry. So Gambia is practicing. If you know what I've been through to be the Nene that I am today, this is nothing. Bring it on.
okay. Bring it on. Hanene is prepared for the challenge that lies ahead. Why I
Yes.
pose that question is that we have seen a lot of women who express interest to run for the highest office in the Gambia, but at the end of the day, instead of helping them to overcome those challenges, they were, caricatured. A lot of things were said about them. But as you said, you are prepared for this challenge. I will go to Mr. Sao. Say who this question, is for both of you, but I will start with you. Many Gambians are concerned about the fragmentation in the opposition. What concrete step is the PPP taking to build a genuine coalition rather than temporal electoral alliances?
Yeah, I mean, that's why PPP took the initiative to actually draft the alliance agreement that we have with GDP. It was PPP that actually drafted it, and then it was reviewed by the leadership of an executive of PPP. I mean, it shows the seriousness and the caliber of people we have in PPP. You know, people that want to put the interest of the nation first. Like Nene said it best. She's been able to establish her career without having to live off of Gambians, without having to grift off of Gambians. I have done similar as well. The small change I was able to create in America, that's what I've came back home to invest with, right? So for us, um, we can put our ambitions on the hold for the greater good of Gambia. And we're at that point where we don't have time. It's already July, and before you know it, rainy season is over and we're in campaign season. So, I mean, at what point do we see that sense of urgency to move? Because right now the incumbent, they're already strategizing. They're already putting, framework in place to ensure they secure the win. And this incumbent we're talking about, MPP, is actually a coalition. There are 6 or 7 other parties within that. And this is the incumbent. They do have unlimited resources at their disposal that they can use. So if the opposition cannot unite quick enough, they don't have that sense of urgency. Even if we end up uniting at the 11th hour, our impact is going to be very minimal. So we need to come together. We need to find ways to sort out our differences. We need to find ways to strategize on how we can win. Because even if other parties come and join the UDP-led coalition, everybody needs to play their role. Everybody needs to come with a value proposition. What can you bring to the table? What can you offer this alignment? So to ensure we win. But the time to plan is now. We can't spend, 6, 7, 9 months arguing about the same. Only one person can be flag bearer at a time. But there are other ways you can contribute, within this framework. to make sure Gambia is successful, to make sure when a new government comes, we can actually create a Gambia everybody can be proud of. So I think the time to move on from that discussion is over. Let's rally behind UDP, bring in our resources, our finance, our expertise, and make sure we win. Because we can't keep talking about the same thing for the past 6, 7 months. Everybody keeps turning around the same question. So we have to face the reality at some point. Nene and I are very intentional. If we want to, I believe more of execution than talking. We can spend months talking and deliver nothing for the people because everybody's watching, everybody's looking up to the oppositions. Apparently, all these oppositions have people behind them, and people are expecting them to make that decisive, like lead with purpose, and try to put Gambia first. So this is what we're trying to do. We need to be able to move away from this conversation and see how like-minded can work together. And the ones that have different opinions, we can only advocate for them to come join us. But if they want to move on, just a prerogative. Let's segregate those that don't want to come join. And then the ones that are like-minded, let them work together and then we'll move forward. But we can't keep tiptoeing around this flag bearer question. We can't keep talking about candidate and party led. It's time to just move on. And it's time to deliver. It's time to come up, with a proposal that Gambian people can believe in. Because even if, we all come together, we need to also come with a unified agenda that Gambians can believe, hey, this is practical, this is feasible, this is going to, we're going to derive tangibles from this, policies and framework. So I think the discussion just needs to move. We don't have time.
The discussion need to move. Sekou and Nene don't have time. They believe in action. Those are the words of Mr. Sao. Nene, we have seen you guys recently went to the United Democratic Party where you had discussions with lawyer Dabo. And for Nene, it was so emotional. It was not only about politics, but this was deeply personal journey for you meeting lawyer Dabo outside the party politics. Nene, tell us about how optimistic, looking at your relationship, your father's relationship with lawyer Dabo, what will make this opposition, this alliance work with the UDP? And secondly, your critics argue that you guys are putting the cart before the horse because there is a broader coalition discussion currently going on. Instead of focusing on bringing someone from that and waiting for the conclusion, you guys jump to the UDP, moving towards a party-led coalition. And I had discussion with some political party leaders a few days ago. They are not in support of party-led coalition. Do you think party-led coalition, Nene, will make a difference on your personal journey with lawyer Dabo?
A party-led, personally, for me, a party-led coalition is what is needed because then you can have a party that you will hold accountable. The mistake we made 10 years ago was having an independent-led coalition. So there is no uniformity, there is no structure in place. It's a free-for-all. I think we should learn from the last 10 years. And having a party-led coalition is what made sense to Sheikh and I. That's one. And two, UDP deserves a right at the table. You have to agree. Lawyer Dabo has the largest opposition party. If you are serious about having a coalition, you cannot have one without starting with UDP. That's two. Three, I've found out from my own personal experience that most of the people that are out here yelling, causing all the noise and creating chaos, they are not in this for the Gambian people. They are in it for themselves. If you care about Gambia and you care about what happens to the Gambian people, you cannot come to the table and have prerequisites. 90% of these people talking in the coalition have demands. That's why it has not moved. Sheku and I came to UDP party with no expectations, with nothing on the table. because we are serious about a coalition. We don't have time. We barely have 5 months left. If they're really, really serious and want to put Gambian people first, a coalition can happen in 24 hours. But I'm telling you, most of these people that are going back to the media and talking and are against what Sheku and I have done, they want to lead regardless if the Gambian people will vote for them or not, or regardless of their chances of winning. They're all in it for their own personal gain. So my question is, when would they put Gambia first, put their needs behind, and stand and fight for the Gambian people? Send the questions back to them.
Sekou, I see you want to chip in on that before I ask a further question about Nene's personal story with lawyer Dabo. Sekou, come in quickly.
Yeah, no, I was saying Nene's audio was echoing. I don't know if you
Okay.
could hear it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
can
sure
hear her very well. Yes, I can hear her.
Yeah, but it's echoing. I'm not sure what is causing that. That's why I was raising my
Oh,
hand.
okay. Put in your okay. My technical guy will fix that from the background. So meanwhile, Nene, we have seen you so emotional after that meeting, narrating your family experience with lawyer Dabo. You know, he was a man who stood for your dad when things were tough. How was that feeling in that room that day?
A lot of people say to me, if you've known Lawyer Dabo all this time, why didn't you go join his party right away? Let me answer that first, because that's a lot of people are asking me that.
Yeah.
First of all, Sheku and I got together over a year ago because we felt there was something missing in the political arena, and we felt there was something we could bring to the Gambian people, something that they were not used to. We thought we would bring value into the political arena. That's why GEP started. Through GEP, we were able to join PPP and create a PPP platform.
Mhm.
If that platform had not been created, if we had not built a level of credibility with the Gambian people, I don't think we would have had the leverage we have today to join UDP. That's one. And two, I have always had a personal relationship with Lawyer Dab. But Gambians don't know me personally. They only know this superficial TikTok dress up, glamorous.
Yeah, and because
But that's the person.
Nene came to the spotlight for most Gambians like a year ago when
It's been over
people.
2 years. It was in
Oh yeah, 2 years
2024.
ago. Yes, two
Yes.
years ago. Yes, and now
But you have
you
to
are.
understand there are many dimensions that make up Nene. Nene. Nene is hardworking. Nene is married. Nene has children. Nene is a business owner. Nene created a life for herself and her family from nothing. So I always have things to be proud of and things to celebrate. And you know what the problem with Gambian women, especially Gambian women, we are not allowed to express ourselves and to live as loudly as we want. We are used to being dictated to how to live by society. So I don't fit that mold. So that's what makes them uncomfortable. But that is not my responsibility. If they take the time to know me, they would not prejudge. I have a lot of experience when it comes to dealing with people. That's one. I have a lot of things to be grateful about. That's two. Lawyer Dabo came into my life when I was a child, and I had a mother who always reminded me of who he was and the kind of value he brought to me and my siblings. I have worked really, really hard. So it hurts my feelings, or it annoys me when people prejudge how I live. I'm a very loyal person. I have integrity. I'm very grateful. And it's important for not only Lawyer Dabo to know that, but to Gambian people to know that I came from very, very humble beginnings. That these humble beginnings started because people like Babu Kasaho, like Lawyer Dabo, like Gabi Sose. These were the people that I grew up with, knowing them as a father figure. They need to be celebrated because I stood on their shoulders. And the reason why I felt Lawyer Dabo needed his flowers, he never talks about things like that. There are thousands and thousands of families that he has made a difference in the last 30, 40 years. And Gambians don't know that part of him. And it was important for me to share that story because if he didn't pay our rent, if he didn't send support to my mother, even when we moved to the United States, my mother went back to the States with 4 children. There were times that she could not afford to pay her rent. There were times when we went to college, she could not afford to help us in university and pay her rent. People like the Babu Hassahos and the Lawyer Dabos were the ones who supported her. So Gambians needed to know that.
I didn't want to cut you short. Your critics will argue that why it take you this so long to make a public declaration of who Lawyer Dabo is and how much he meant to your family. Do you owe anyone?
You know why? Because you know why? There's a lot of shame that comes with being vulnerable. There's a lot of shame that comes with that. There's a lot of pain that happened when my father went to prison for 11 years.
Yes.
We were homeless in this Gambia. There were people who could afford to help, but turned their backs. And it was important for him to know that I did not forget that. I was 8 years old, but I remember even when we got to the United States, when my mother had to live off of food stamps because she could not afford to pay the rent and buy groceries. So Nene Seka's life did not just start like that. There were a lot of people who put in the work. I put in the work, and I need to be celebrated, and they need to be celebrated. And they also need to know that there's a story. There's a story behind every person. So you cannot say the Nene Seka that came in and gave Wali this money doesn't deserve to do that. I am Mandomi Guerrilla. I remember my grandmother having to woyan before my father would have breakfast or have lunch. So when I celebrate Wali Seka or any other guerrilla, I'm celebrating my identity. I'm celebrating from my humble beginnings. I'm celebrating who I am today. So critics who talk about me don't know what they're talking about.
Absolutely. And then the discussion is getting so interesting. And then we have 1 hour for this show. And Sehu is looking at me. Sehu has a lot to say, but I call him Mr. President. Sehu, youth unemployment, education, and migration remain a pressing issue. How will your coalition prioritize youth voices and leadership of young Gambians in governance structures, not just as voters, but as decision makers?
Okay, I think the echoing is coming from you. Maybe when we're speaking, if you can mute your mic, because it echoes a lot when I don't know if that's the reason.
Okay, okay. Let me check my my mic. Can you hear me now?
No, I can hear you, but maybe when I speak, maybe if you can mute your mic, because I think the echoing is from that.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, go ahead. I will mute my mic.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of youth and employment, that has been a big, issue for Gambia at large. There's very limited opportunity in this country. People, even women and kids, now have to go through the back way. Just to secure better lives. I mean, in terms of this coalition, even during the negotiation phase with UDP, we brought forth some policies and agenda that they looked into, and they also wanted to merge it with what they have, because obviously they have their 5-point agenda. Obviously, they also have their policy framework, And then even when Nene and I started Golden Era, we came with our Golden 9 agenda as well. And then PPP had theirs, right? So now we're looking for a way to consolidate this into one big, policy, framework and manifesto. When it comes to job creation, I've always said this: we need to be innovative when it comes to being able to create jobs, and then we need to focus on industrialization. That's the quickest and fastest ways we can create mass jobs and opportunity. And then right now, Gambia, we're not prepared for that. Like there's no industrialization without having stable energy. There's no industrialization without having cheap energy. So you need affordable energy. You need to have energy in abundance. So we need to diversify, our energy generation. We cannot be industrialized when more than 50% of our electricity is being imported from Senegal. We need to make sure at least 70, 80% can be generated locally. Maybe 20% can be from the OMVG projects. These are, this is not just Gambia, but, Gambia, Senegal, and other West African countries. So we need to focus on energy, find ways to harness. We have sunlight, we have wind. We can even process organic waste into energy, right? So we need to be creative about, energy. And then from there, we can start with light industrialization. We need to look at industries where we can actually prepare our young ones, like the ones that are just graduating high school, so that way, as soon as they finish graduation, they can start learning, or having hands-on experience in industries. We can start creating textile industries, agro-processing industries. So that way they can have an idea of what manufacturing looks like. A lot of things we import today, like toothbrush, toothpaste, hygiene supplies, brooms and all this stuff, all these, byproducts. These are stuff that we can create here, and it can create 50 to 100,000 jobs, within the next 5 years. And then when that happens, if we're able to create mass jobs, we'll be able to increase our revenue, because now more people are paying tax into the system. And then the industries that are coming also, they're paying licensing, they're paying for permit, they're paying for registration. And then, because we need to focus on how we can create middle, just like in America, you have the, low income, middle income, and high income. But Gambia, we don't have the middle income. You either have low income or the high income. So the middle class is in overseas. These are the ones working overseas. After they pay their bills, they can afford to send $500 to $1,000 per month. So now the focus is, how can we create a middle income class? These are high paying jobs in the Gambia that can self-sustain themselves here, so that way they can have disposable income. Because once we have those industries coming in, creating high value jobs, the small businesses like your restaurants, your mom and pop stores, they'll be able to also sustain their employees in the Gambia. So we need to focus on those issues, So collectively, like I said, this is why it's very important for, these leaders, different coalition. Once this coalition happens, we can start focusing on how we can tackle these problems, and then we have to make sure we're able to present these fantastic ideas, back to the Gambian people. But if we spend all day, if we spend the whole year arguing about who the flag bearer is, at what point are we going to start discussing on these important policies? At what point do we start discussing about the reforms? So right now, like with all these coalition talks happening, it's just counterproductive. We spend too many, like Nene said, trust me, if the leaders are actually serious, it shouldn't take more than 2 weeks to form a coalition. So I just don't understand why, we're still on this topic.
Thank you, Mr. Sao, for that brilliant answer. Nene, I'm trying to be more gender biased. Most of my questions are related to women's political representation. So women has historically played a vital role in Gambian politics and social movements. We have had great women leaders, but none of them was able to fulfill that dream of becoming, president. So, what policies will your ticket champion to increase women representation in parliament, civil service, and key ministries. When you look at the cabinet, we have few women.
We've lost him.
Hello, Nene, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Nene, can you hear me? You are on mute. Seku, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we can hear you.
But if we spend all day, if we spend the whole day arguing about what is like there.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't think he can hear us. The internet is acting up today.
Seku, can you hear me? I can hear you though.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can.
I can hear you. I am speaking, but I can't hear anything from you.
We can hear you though.
We can both hear
I
you
don't know
fine.
what
We hear you.
happened.
The internet has been going in and out all day today.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
we can hear you fine.
Maybe you disconnect your audio and put it back in.
Hello, can you hear me, Seku?
Yes, yes.
We can
Yeah, we
both
Okay,
can
go
hear
hear
you.
you.
ahead. I'm not hearing you. It seems you are on mute.
No, we're not. We're fine. We're both on. We're not on mute. We're fine. We can hear you.
Yeah, but I can hear you, Sehu.
I
Can
can
you
hear you
speak
though.
up?
Yeah, we both can hear you, but I don't
We
think you
can
can
both
hear.
hear you fine.
Maybe you can disconnect your audio and then put it back in.
Maybe you can disconnect your audio and then put it back in. Okay. Hello, can you guys hear me now? You can talk. Let me see if I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you too.
Yeah,
We can
something
both
is
hear
wrong
you.
from, I can hear none of you.
That's the power of the internet. Sekou,
Yeah.
I have the meeting today with the UTG students at
Guys,
7.
it seems that, I can hear my guests, they can hear me from their side, but I can hear
Yeah.
them, so I'm trying to fix that issue as soon as I can so that we can continue this interesting conversation that's unfolding here on the Alcamba Times.
Nene, you said you have at
A
7?
yes, I have a UTG conference at 7.
Okay.
So I
So
was
yeah, I
hoping
think
to stay until 7 and then leave. So
and then drop.
if, yeah, so
Yes,
if I
my
had
technical guy is saying you guys can hear me, but if I
yeah.
ask question to Nene, can you talk so that I can see if I can hear you? Because I can hear anything from you guys.
Hello, 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 hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, can you hear now?
Nene, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can hear him. Osman, can you help me check at the sound system from their end if they are not mute?
No, we are not.
Okay. Hello. Okay, can you speak
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Okay.
How are you?
Okay. Oh, Nene, I can hear you now. I can hear you clearly now.
Okay. I'm sorry, you
Okay.
only have me until 7. I have to go to University of Gambia, UTG. I have a science student union meeting.
Okay. We are almost there. In the next 15 minutes, we should be done. Sorry
Correct.
about that. I think,
It's
you
okay.
guys were hearing me, but I can't hear anything because I was talking to Seku, but I can't hear anything from Seku, and you guys said you are hearing me.
Yes.
So, yeah. So basically, Nene, my question was, women have historically played a vital role in Gambia's political and social movement. What policies will your ticket champion to increase women representation in parliament, in civil service, and key ministries?
I think right now we have to be realistic to think that this election you're going to have more women in parliament. First of all, you don't have that many women standing. Next year is the election. The perception has already been built that women cannot be leaders. And then it takes too much grit. A lot of the women want to run, but because of the personal attacks, because of the way that they're made to feel uncomfortable, because they don't have the resources, most of them will not run. My goal has been to be the bridge, to be the voice, because I feel like I need to be the voice of the voiceless, especially for someone like me who has lived abroad. I see that women don't have enough support.
Mhm.
We are expected to be everything to everybody, but no one is there to support our basic needs. I would give you an example. I have a garden that Sheku and I supported. We built what is it called? We built a well in Faratu.
Mhm.
Those women had been there for 10 years without water. They wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning to go fetch water, or they sleep there so when the drums fill, they can water their plants. Some of these women sleep there with 6-month, 1-year-old babies. If the government really cares about women, those basic supports like providing wells and providing water so that they can water their plants and be able to grow their crops and raise their families, those basic needs should be met. The women that I support, 90% of the time after a school year, after they've paid school fees, after they've bought school supplies, bought their books and sent their children to school, their businesses fall. These CAFOs need to come back and re-raise funds to be able to continue their businesses. I feel like the government does not provide enough support to women. And another initiative that I've also experienced personally is most of the women who have children, at least 30% of those babies, either those babies die or the mothers die. The basic medical needs for the 21st century, Gambia doesn't have. An entire country of 3 million people only has 20 incubators. How can you support women and not have basic needs like incubators being met? The hospital in Banjul, when you go there, these women have to take turns in the incubators for the babies to be able to breathe. They take turns every hour. That's unheard of. 30% of those babies that are born die at the emergency room or die at the NICU. So if 58% of registered voters are women, I feel like bringing women's needs, bringing ideas from women forward, and us women holding the government accountable will help. But to think that we're going to have a woman president, personally, I don't think Gambia is ready for that. Culturally, we're not ready for that. People say the right things because they want to pacify women. But I feel, apart outside of Sheku and a few handful of men, I don't see the support that they claim they give women. They want us to raise their children. They want us to be providers and supporters, but they don't want to see us as leaders. So we are very far from that right now.
Nene, that is very concerning because a country that do not want to see women occupying key political position is not ready for business in real time. I will not hold you much here, but just stay with us for next 10 minutes and then I will, ask two other questions because you have another event to attend. But Seu, this one is about Gambia's sovereignty. Recent reports of military incident in Block. This was a question I wanted to ask when we started, but because the topic is framed around coalition building, I wanted to wait until at the tail end or in the middle of the interview to ask you this question. Sekou, we have seen Senegalese military coming into Block military camp, demolishing 200-meter fence, claiming that the land is inside Senegal. This has created a lot of concerns among Gambians, both home and diaspora, and a lot of political leaders, both in the opposition and in the government, condemn this as an act of aggression, as an act of declaration of war. Sekou, what's your take on this whole situation, and what are you looking in terms of, safeguarding Gambia's sovereignty? Should your coalition or party-led coalition win 2026 presidential election? Are you concerned about the activities of these Senegalese security forces in the Gambia?
Yes, of course. I'm very, very concerned because it's quite disheartening for an event of this magnitude to unfold, and we're not seeing that level of I'm trying to look for the key word. It seems like a response. I read the response from
Yeah. The
from the
government.
state. Yeah, it's like one of the weakest response,
Wow.
because this is actually, like you said, it's like a declaration of war. Because, for Senegal to have that
Audacity.
effrontery, the audacity to come in and just bulldoze our fence, did they even go through the proper channels? Did they contact our government? Like, these are some of the questions we should be asking first. Because, we saw the response Senegal gave. It was nonsense. It was an insult to every Gambian.
Sehu, I did a story. I don't want to cut you, but just to give you a context, we run a story. It was published this morning on the Alcamba Times, and we spoke to senior military commanders and sources. What the source claim is that the perimeter fence that the Senegalese bulldoze is inside Senegal, but this cannot be independently verified. What the military sources say is that, when this issue came up, they reported, they reported the issue when Senegalese highlighted it to the higher authorities, to then chief of defense staff for an action to be taken. But unfortunately, nothing was done until on the 16th July when Senegalese bulldozed this fence. I'm not trying to support, or agree with what the Senegalese do. Even Gambians have been united that the method in which they did this operation is very wrong and is uncalled for. So just to make that side clear, and then you can come on.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, because I read the response that our government also, delivered to the public, disseminated, right? It doesn't, I mean, I get what the military officers are saying, but if you read the statement that our
Yeah,
government also gave
from the
out,
government, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, it looks like they want to do some consultation first. They want to, they're not coming out and saying, hey, oh, by the way, we actually built this fence in Senegal's territory. That's not what their message is alluding to.
Yeah.
They're saying, hey, we're going to go through the proper channels to understand why this happened. But then the military officers, so the message is not on the same wavelength, But this is what I'm saying. This is what incompetence
Yeah.
leads to, right? And this is what we've been saying. We need competent leaders that can make sure, the security of Gambians cannot be compromised. Our sovereignty is something we're not going to compromise. We're a peace-loving country, but when it comes to the security of our people, we love Senegal. We have a great tradition that goes hundreds of years, but what they've done is unacceptable. So we need to
Right.
get to the root cause, because what the government is saying officially, and then what the military officers are saying, you know, I just can't compromise the two, right now. They're not speaking the same. So we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to understand, what happened. And,
Mhm.
for something like this to happen, our government should have been aware.
Yeah.
Our government should have even released a statement first. Like, hey, by the way, something happened. This fence was built. So that way, even if Senegal used their own machineries, right, to bulldoze down the fence, we're like, okay, our government have already done due diligence. They understand what's going on. But it looks like we were not even informed.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Inform. Yeah.
Yeah, we were completely disregarded. And then this is the situation everybody's complaining about. We still have the security guards from Senegal
Yeah.
protecting the president when we have our military. Just recently, they requested for more economic forces from
Mm.
Nigeria, to come down. We're not at war. Why are we paying? Because obviously this is not free. Our taxpayers have to pay something.
Mm.
These people are coming on international deployment to Gambia. Some of those resources that we're contributing to sustain those people here could have gone and develop other things here in the Gambia. So, I mean, President Barrow has been president for 10 years. I mean, at some point, we need to make sure our military can stand on its own. We need to make sure our military should be guarding the presidency, while we having foreign entities, doing that, So, yeah, there's a huge security risk there. I just don't understand how, they've been so comfortable doing this for the past 10 years. It's ridiculous.
Seku, will you and your coalition partners, should you have the opportunity. Nene, I will come to you, your reaction on the Senegalese recent action in Bloc. But Sehu, how will you guide the Gambia's sovereignty? Because since 2017, we have seen that Senegalese are providing security to all the way to the office of the president, to the presidency, and they also have military battalions stationed in Fonyi. We know Fonyi is in a borderline with Senegal, the southern Casamance part, and this has been a flashpoint for conflict over the past 30 years between the MFDC rebels and the Senegalese government. Now that we have seen Senegalese, doing whatever they want to do, will your coalition-led government take a decision to withdraw Senegalese forces from the Gambia 10 years since the change of government?
Yes, that was something we'll work on day one. We're not going to have any Senegalese or any other national, in any of our security. We're gonna embolden, we're gonna empower our own Gambian military personnel from day one, because it's a security risk. What information,
Yeah.
what blueprints, they have everything, all the
Yeah.
intelligence of Gambia.
Intelligence.
They do know. So even in the future, we are at risk of military interference.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we neutralize this situation, because if the next government comes, a lot of changes, within our security, we need to make sure there's so many changes, because they obviously know from A to Z,
Yeah,
and then this could lead
absolutely.
to problems in the future. So so that's why we need to get ahead of this. We need to empower our own military personnel. We need to provide the necessary training they need to provide world-class security, to safeguard Gambians and Gambian people and livelihoods. I know Nene is about to leave, but I'll let
Yeah,
her
yeah,
chime with the
yeah,
question.
yeah. Me and you can continue with that. Nene, you
Now,
had your friend say who. So, what's your take on this
I-
security situation, the action of the Senegalese forces in Bullock?
my biggest frustration and why I raised my hand while Sheikh was talking, he
Yeah,
just mentioned Senegal, then New York. If they are already in charge of our president's
yeah.
security,
Mhm.
they already understand the Gambian infrastructure and how
Absolutely.
the safety and the security of Gambians work. That's why they've been so audacious.
Yeah.
And I think with time, they will continue to move closer and closer into Gambia. And there will come a time when we'll be forced to react. They don't take us seriously because they don't take our leaders seriously. Personally, I feel like President Barrow has failed us. He should be out here calming our fears. He should have been on blast, on broadcast, giving us plans, telling us infrastructures that he's going to put in place to make us feel safe. And this is another reason why we should take voting seriously. Dara yenga lutko, fale utken. Because right now, he should be on the radio, on TV, everywhere, blasting and standing for something. This man stands for nothing. If it doesn't affect him directly, he does not care. Look at how many we've had 7 stabbings in 6
Yeah.
weeks.
Mhm.
Every day, when our children get into conflict, they're killing each other. He has yet to stand up and explain to us why we have drugs in the street, why are our kids high all the time, why aren't the police, instead of traffic police trying to get money from us and embezzle us for $200-300 or $200-300, see, why aren't they here focusing on areas that are saturated with people, providing security, providing structured security, there's nothing in place. Gambia is a free for all. Everybody does whatever the hell they want. And Senegal, Daphne, yep, Lolota, this will continue. And until there's a change of government that says enough is enough, he sold everything else. This is just another thing that sooner or later we're gonna find out that he pre-bargained, did behind our back. The way he's calm, they knew what was going on. There are other things that are going on that we are not aware of. I don't believe that the Senegalese government, in their right mind, will just come and bulldoze the fence
Yeah.
and do
A
whatever the
military
hell they
camp.
want.
Mhm.
They in a military, and he doesn't know. He knows. He just does not care.
And that's one reason that Nene and Seku are teaming up with all genuine opposition leaders to effect changes come December. Nene, final question before I let you go, because I will spend another 10 minutes with Seku after this
Okay.
question, because it's almost the tail end of the interview. But due to some interruptions we had, we will add 10 more minutes for Seku. I know you guys are busy. Nene, what message do you have for Gambian youths and women who may be skeptical about politics but want real change? Why should they trust this coalition building process and participate actively ahead of the polls?
Because your future is at stake. Your children's future is at stake. President Barrow has been here for 10 years. Therefore, another 5 years, he's not going to do a goddamn thing. Don't look at voting as like you doing Sheku and I a favor,
Mhm.
or that you doing a party a favor. This is for your children. This is your life. If your life is better off than it was 10 years ago, don't vote. But if you feel less safe, if what you are making now is harder to support your family compared to 10 years ago, if your children are in public school system and they cannot even pass the standardized exam, if every day when you go to the market, what you paid for is 5 to 10 to 15% more, vote against this regime. They don't care about you.
Mhm.
And they have proven that. President Barrow Defut Fidara in 10 years. President Barrow Jabaram, Depasam is $150,000 per day. If $150,000 is okay for you, for Mrs. Barrow to spend every day just on the pass, then vote al President Barrow. I will not beg anybody.
Mhm.
I will not nehal anybody. Suñ la joxe malo, mburu, lu la jox, jël ko nga lekk ko. Parce que sa xaalis lay use. He's using your money. He's using your fat to fry you. They've already knocked you 5 years. They've knocked you 10 years. President Barrow should not be able to come to any of us right now and tell us of something that he's going to do. If he hasn't done it in 10 years, he is not going to do it in 15 years.
But Nene, his supporters said that President Barrow has built roads, he has built schools,
Yeah, the
infrastructure is
roads
good.
with no infrastructure, the roads that are now trash collectors, the roads that when it rains, you cannot leave your house. Gambia doesn't function every day it rains. The roads that were given to family members and not to qualified people, the roads that Gambia will pay taxes for, will pay for the next 20 years. He built 90 kilometers of roads and it cost the Gambian people $100 million. Those are the kinds of roads that you want. Is that the life you feel you deserve as a Gambian? President Barrow and his administration have used the resources of the Gambian people for their own personal gain. And anybody who supports President Barrow does not care about you. He cares about what he benefits from President Barrow's regime.
Hmm.
Yes, I stand by that. President Barrow does not care about the average Gambian people because our lives are worse off today than we were 10 years ago. So I say no to that. Vote
And you will
because
do
you want change.
you will do everything in your power to make sure that Barrow become history come December.
Yes, we will work day and night. We will be out here as of September 1st. We will go to every corner. We will give you facts. We will give you information. We will support you, but we are not bribing anybody to vote for a better Gambia. We all need a better Gambia, but we're not going to use money and broken promises. Gambians should be smarter than that by now. If President Barrow again was going to do it, he had 10 years and he's done nothing. There's no infrastructure in Gambia that works efficiently. None.
Okay. Okay. Nene, many thanks for that brilliant intervention. I know you have a lot going on with you. I see you all over the
Jërëjëf.
place. Yeah, I see you all over the place. And somebody told me that Nene want to be vice president, but I hope that we'll be able to finance Nene's lifestyle.
Well, let me answer that. Dumadem, let me answer that. Nene worked, Nene has a business that is 19 years old.
Okay.
Nene's business will be 20 years old in
Anyway,
Nene bills
okay,
Medicaid over $1.5
welcome.
million a month.
Okay,
And
okay,
30% of that is profit. Do you
okay.
think Nene needs Gambians' money? Nene is a
Absolutely.
Nene
Yeah,
is a millionaire in her own right and
right.
has built her own wealth. And she did it through hard work, not through her father, not through her husband.
Okay.
Instead of
Okay.
you worrying about Nene and the life that she's built, worry about President Barrow. President Barrow got here, he was renting. Today, he's worth over $100 million. And you worried about me and what I have built? Because the standards for women, like I told you, is different for the standard of men. Gambians are not used to a self-made woman millionaire. And I am that. I can prove it. And I live the life that I can afford. Instead of you worrying about me, worry about why President Barrow buys Mrs. Barrow $1 million ticket just to travel to Turkey. And that does not include her security. It does not include the money she took with her. It does not include in the past. Worry about your president spending $1.2 billion last year just at the president's office. The money that Nene spends is her money, is money that she's earned and she's worked for. I have a right to live the life that I want and the way that I want. I don't think it's fair for you to put that expectation on me when you have not put it on your president. Before President Barrow became president, what did he do for Gambian people? What has he done for Gambian people? So I put it back to the Gambian people. And if you cannot control me and control how I spend my money, if you try to do that, you're going to have a heart attack. Because I worked very hard. I've been working since I was 15 years old. So I have a right to do with my money as I see fit. So bala len marek. Lolu mom, dolen masimun.
Madam Vice President, I love your confidence, and your president is smiling right there because he knows that
Because he
he
knows
has
me.
he knows that there is someone who is very confident, very eloquent, and unapologetic. Many thanks,
Yes.
Nene.
Nah.
For taking your time to join this show with
Jereje.
me. I am very happy to host you, and I hope that I will have you one on one without Mr. Sao in the studio. That would be more
No
interesting
problem.
because
No,
maybe.
oh my God. Then you're hulu.
But anyway, many thanks, and I
Jereje.
wish you wonderful evening and enjoy your
Jereje.
program out at the UTG. Jereje, thank you so much.
Jereje.
Okay,
Jereje. Bye
thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye,
Sehu,
Shasita.
thank you
So,
for that. Sehu, I know you listening and enjoying the conversation, and I'm happy that you guys are bold and you have a lot of ideas that you want to improve what's going on in the Gambia. So, Mr. Sehu, we'll still be talking about the security situation. You have a background in security. You serve in one of the world's most advanced militaries in that's the United States. Sekou, what is the implication of Senegalese military incident in bloc? The far-reaching implication, not only for Gambia but for the sub-region.
yeah, I mean, it's just a bad precedent, and this is, like you said, a declaration of war. Um, you know, our president actually needs to take a firm stance on this situation. It needs to be properly addressed, and then Senegal should actually issue a public apology to Gambia, because I see this as a very
No, they defended. They defended their action in a press release. They said this issue has been on, and they have tried to channel it with the Gambian authorities.
Yeah, but if you look at the statement that the Gambia, like our government has released,
It's a weak statement.
yeah, it's a weak statement. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem like they were aware this was going to happen. So that's why we need, like again, accountability. We need people that can tell us exactly what is going on. Because personally, I've been, you know, looking at the government page, to make sure I understand what is actually
Yeah,
going on. Because I don't want to preemptively make a statement and then,
yeah, yeah.
and then miscalculate what
You're
I'm going
trying
to
to
say.
gather your facts also.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
want to gather facts. I've read what the Senegalese has put out, and then I've read what our government has put out, but I'm yet to see them substantiate, you know, this.
those
So
claims. Yeah,
yeah. So until they substantiate, because now, once they're able to substantiate what is actually going on, if the president can do us a favor by coming out publicly to address these issues, or even answering questions, tough questions from journalists, we can deduce exactly what is going on and what happened, and then it will make sense, for politicians like myself or political actors to say, hey, this is gross injustice. This should never happen on Gambian soil. Because if Gambia did the same to Senegal, it
yeah,
would have been,
yeah,
fires would have been drawn.
yeah.
They would have drawn fire. So we need to. That's why we need bold visionary leadership. And when it comes to the sovereignty of Gambia, even President Jammeh, you got to give him credit
Yeah,
where it's due.
yeah.
He
Mhm.
ensured that is something he's not going to
Yeah,
compromise. That is
jealously guard
definitely,
Gambia's
yeah,
sovereignty. Yeah,
yeah, that is definitely non-negotiable in Jammeh's era. Senegal dare not try this nonsense. So again, we expect more from our leadership. They need to, tell us exactly what is going on.
so
Where they are.
do you think this is as a result of incompetent leadership in Banjul?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, it's been 10 years, Marina and MK, and still we have the Senegalese guy
Yeah,
guarding our president. They know every ins and
yeah.
outs. So I mean, it's 10 years. It doesn't take 10 years, you know,
Mm.
to entrust your own military. I don't understand that. It shouldn't take 10 years, especially for a small country like Gambia. So that means even the president doesn't have confidence in his own military after 10 years in leadership.
Yeah.
And then this is the same person
So
coming
the
back to us
deployment is
asking,
long overdue.
yes. And I think, when coalition comes, security is going to be the top of our agenda. Even all these stabbings and killings that have been going on, repeatedly weeks after weeks, we need firm justice. It's like an eye for an eye. You kill, you're going to get killed too. Unfortunately, we need to take a bold stance. So people know, hey, there's consequences. You're not going to kill people just because you feel like it, and then think you're going to waste taxpayers' money going back and forth to court.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when people know, hey, when I kill somebody, I should be ready to die also, they're going to think twice
Yeah, but
before they
so,
commit.
so we are in a civilized world now. Human rights activists will tell you that an eye for eye is not justice. Are you in any way supporting the reintroduction of death penalty? Because Gambia used to have a death penalty, but there was a moratorium that was put on it, and then now that, it's not enforceable. Are you thinking in any way that you want to reintroduce the death penalty?
In some cases, we need to. Like, for instance, I forgot the boy's name. This was recently. The young man with dreads, right? He
Yeah.
showed no remorse. He was actually, pointing his middle finger to the victim's family.
Yeah. The Latrikunda Sabiji
Yes,
murder suspect. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes. I just forgot what his name was. I think it's
yeah,
something Jal. He
yeah,
had dread.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Dreads.
So
I remember him.
somebody like that just took somebody's life, showed no
Yeah,
remorse, and then he was handcuffed, and then he was still throwing the middle finger to the
yeah,
victim's family.
yeah.
So I think we need to assess case on a case by case basis. So for people like that,
Yeah,
why are we wasting taxpayer resources going back and forth?
yeah.
He showed no
Feeding them
remorse.
at mile two and providing
Yeah,
them
feeding them at
transport
my
to court.
too. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, exactly. It's a no-brainer for me. So I think in situations like that, yes. But because sometimes it could have happened by accident or they had a
Yeah.
misunderstanding, and then the assailant actually kind of felt remorse. You
Mhm.
know, maybe they were just heated at that moment. Things happen. We get carried away by emotions, and then we had
Yeah.
that anger at that time. But then, after the fact, so in situations like that, I wouldn't say, hey, give him the death penalty still. I was like, hey, maybe he needs to, do life in jail, 25 years or more, and then, yeah. But in situation like the Latrikunda incident, he showed no remorse. He doesn't care. So why should we care? So I think we need to look at it on a case by case basis on the severity, and then also, the perpetrators that are committing these crimes, do they actually feel remorse, or this is just, hey, I'm going to do it, nothing, and then don't be surprised if he gets pardoned, by the government, because they've been, giving out a lot of pardons lately,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then unfortunately, people like this guy can end up receiving pardons, and I don't think he deserves it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That make me remember the recent case of Sanamanja, the jungler who was accused of extrajudicial killings. Do you know that on last Friday, the murder charges were withdrawn against him, and now they are substituting it with assault because the state prosecutors do not have enough evidence as to what they claim. Otherwise they're going to lose the case. I think, what do you think about that decision and also our entire justice system to hold the perpetrators of Jammeh's 22 years accountable? It's like 8 years since the TRRC, and still we have those perpetrators of vicious human rights violation walking scot-free in the streets of Banjul without justice. Victims are still seeking closure.
Yeah, that's why we need institutional reforms, MK. Our institutions are just weak. People work scot-free that should be in jail.
Yeah.
Um, and then we give impunity to those people that we know they flagrantly, um, abuse the law. They don't have respect for human rights. They don't value human rights, Gambians. And then what we do, we reward them with freedom.
Yeah.
So our institutions are too weak. They've already been compromised. So we need a complete overhaul,
Mm.
and reforms need to happen. And I think that will be the top priority for the first 100 days, for this coalition to focus on security, institutional reforms, and we need to embolden our judicial branch to do the needful without any interference from any political party or leaders. I mean, without that, situations like this are going to happen. People that are corrupt, people that have embezzled funds, they're
Yeah.
just going to be scot free. And then guess
Yeah.
what? We're going to reward them with a new appointment down
Positions.
the line.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's like a vicious cycle that just keep repeating itself. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, at some point we have to take a stance. Because you can't win a tug of war by just being in the middle. You're either for justice or not.
Yeah.
You're either for corruption or not. But you can't be in the middle.
Yeah, you have to stand for something. So I know you are also busy. You have a lot of things to do, but I think I will have to ask you just two questions and let you go. My focus here is young Gambians often feel disconnected from traditional politics. How are you using digital platforms, entrepreneurship programs, civic education to engage them meaningfully in this coalition building process? Because I have seen that you are well loved online. A lot of young people see you as a mentor because of your positive nature and approach to issues. How are you helping them, in those areas, entrepreneurship programs, civil education, to make sure that the change that everyone is yearning for, is achieved come December 5th, 2026?
Yes, I would say this election will be different because we've been able to target a different demographic, and when I say demographic, I'm talking about young people like us that typically don't care about Gambian politics. They don't, when it comes to politics, like, I don't want to be involved. But this
Yeah.
time around, they're tuning in, they follow me online. Sometimes they write messages, I'm able to read, I get too many messages. I'm
Yeah.
able to read some emails and messages, and some are like, hey, I've never voted, I don't even have a voter's card, but because of you this
Mm.
time, I'm
Mm.
tuned in. Because of you this time, I want to participate. So we've given hope. And then, because they also looked at our background, how we came, what
Yeah.
made us in politics, and then they see that, like we're genuine, right? We didn't, we came and invested in this country. It's not the other way around. When people ask, what have you done
So
for
some
Gambia?
might think that you are into politics because of money. Are you into politics because of opportunities and money? Yeah, because this is what a lot of people will be saying. Young people will come here and present themselves like they are not power hungry. Moments they are given power, they change. We have seen the case of Dr. Ismail Sise and others, you know.
But anybody that knows me will know I'm a very altruistic person. I don't think that's something that I'm making up for myself. People that know me, people that have had encounters with me, even when I came to Gambia, people that I've interacted with. This is me. This is the circle people know from 10 years ago. Politics will not change me. Money
Mhm.
will not change me. Like I said, I worked hard in America. I came there as a student, got educated, joined the army, helped my family be in a position today where, my siblings, they're going back to school in the US, they're doing well
Mhm.
for themselves,
Mhm.
even my mom, my extended family. And then when I came here, I had the same, I want to do the same for Gambians, been able to create jobs. I've been here for 5 years now. I've created over 50 full-time jobs consistently. I have, my payroll is about 50 employees full-time that I pay on a month-to-month basis. If you look at my monthly expenditure in the Gambia for the past 5 years, I spend no less than 25 to 40,000 on monthly expenditure. This is on payroll,
Mhm.
my own personal, stuff. I have a family. Sometimes we go on vacation, you know. But if you look at Gambia today, how much does President Barrow earn in a year? His salary is about 500,000, right?
Yeah.
Do you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah. They increase it to 500,000. Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. Is that a year? That's a year, right? Or
I
per
think
month?
that's I think that's monthly. I'm not sure, but I
Okay,
think
okay.
that's
So
that's
monthly. Okay, so monthly, $500,000 fee. That's
yeah,
$7,000, right?
yeah.
About $7,000 or $7,500. You multiply that by 12, you get you. It's still less than $100,000. But if you look at my monthly expenditure, I'm spending close to anywhere between 25 to 40. Obviously, now I'm into politics. Nen and I
Yeah,
have been,
mhm.
we've been doing more of the heavy lifting. If we need flyers, printers,
Yeah.
we need to mobilize.
Communication, yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. So I'm spending way more than I was spending, a year ago because we've been doing this for a year now. But my monthly expenditure is anywhere between 25 to 40. So in a year, I'm spending no less than half a million here just on businesses and, employees that I have in the Gambia. This is different from, other expenditures that I have outside
Yeah,
of here.
family commitments and
Family
etc.
commitments, in the US, I do have some other obligations. So I'm spending close to half a million a year. The ministers here don't make half a million a year. None of the ministers here make a half a million a year. So
They do
again,
make more than a million with kickbacks and other stuff they do outside their salary, official
yeah.
salary.
Okay, we kick back. But I'm saying officially, how many of them have half a million a year of expenditures in
Yeah,
dollars?
yeah,
So this is
yeah,
what I'm saying. So when people say, oh, they want something, no, we want Gambia to be better. And
yeah.
if there's any way, shape or form I can contribute to that, even without taking in salary, I'll do it. I'll do it because if Gambia is good today, our kids, our
Yeah.
grandkids, will have a better future. We can create opportunity for the 3 million people here. Because majority of Gambians, the ones that are here are in poverty. So how do we change that? So we need people that genuinely want change, genuinely want to improve the lives of other Gambians. So for me, it's not about the position
Money.
and the leadership. Yeah, Alhamdulillah, I've been able to afford things for myself without needing handout from the government. Since I came here, I had ample opportunities, to create, to be part of the cabal that is just going to suck away from the public. But I don't want to be part of that because I know what comes with that. Because once you're in that territory, you even want to bid on government contracts.
Yeah.
There's stipulations to how you're going to get it. I don't want to be part of that mess. So the little change that I have, that's what I'm living on here. That's what I'm investing in the gap. Yeah. So for me, it's not about,
So
since I've
Sekou,
been here.
if Barrow government offer you like they do to many young people to neutralize them, because if they know you have influence, especially in the youth, like you have a lot of influence among young people, will you take an offer from Barrow right now?
No, I'm not interested because President Barrow has been there for 10 years. He hasn't fought corruption. You know, if you look at even some of these projects they're doing, these are low quality projects. You know, a lot of these roads cannot stand more than 2 rainy seasons. You know, so there's been a lot of gross mismanagement and waste. You know, so we need an efficient government that would address all this head on. Because you cannot develop a country where there's still rampant corruption, there's still rampant mismanagement, you know. And then if you look at all these projects that they're doing, you know, there's nothing to show for it. We've invested so much in agriculture for the past 10 years, but till today, we're still importing bag of rice.
Yeah.
We're importing like never before, and the prices are going up because every time they're always increasing the duty, right? Because that's how do we make money in this country? We depend heavily on taxes. So anytime the government needs to raise money, they increase taxes or they increase duty. And then we don't make anything in this country, right? So each time businessmen import, the prices of goods keep going up because the duty, the excise tax and duty keep increasing, you know, year over year. You know, so this is not a serious government. I'm happy. You know, I worked in corporate America even before I started my own entrepreneurship journey. So I have different, you know, opportunities, businesses that I can go into, even outside of Gambia. I can choose today to go to Senegal and start a new business there. I'll be just fine. I can decide to come back to America today and continue what I was doing. So like for me, it's not you know, we just want changes, we want to create opportunities for Gambia. But as far as working for this administration, that's a big no. They, you know, they had 10 years to fix a lot of things. So I'm not interested. I'm okay with the little that I have. I'm okay with what I've been able to create in the Gambia. And I'm okay and I'm also proud of what I've been able to accomplish for myself without seeking handouts or without seeking any position. So I'm okay if, you know, they could give it to other eligible Gambians. But as far as this government is concerned, I'm not interested. I'm going to respectfully decline any position from this government because for me, integrity and credibility means a lot to me. I wouldn't want to affiliate myself with people that, you know, they had the chance, they had the opportunity for the past 10 years, you know, to right the wrong, and they haven't done that. They haven't demonstrated that. So if they can do it in 10 years, I do not believe they can do it in 5 years.
5 years, absolutely. And here they are. The President Barrow is seeking third term in office.